Hello, good evening, UK Crime Book Club. I've got the lovely Gemma Rogers, who you're going to introduce yourself and tell us a little about your books.
Hi, I'm Gemma Rogers and I'm an author of gritty thrillers. I've written 5 books to date, and my latest release, The Babysitter, came out on Tuesday. So I'll tell you a little bit about The Babysitter. It's a gritty thriller, as I said. They're based over 3 days in October, where a child abduction has taken place. But it's got a slightly different spin on your average child abduction story. It's written from the perspective of the mother, the kidnapper, and the babysitter. And without giving too much of the plot away, because I have to be quite careful.
It is tricky not to.
It is quite difficult. You end up kind of questioning who's actually the victim of the whole scenario. There's a lot of secrets to be found out.
Yeah.
So that's the basis of the latest book, The Babysitter, which has just come out on Tuesday.
Well, congratulations. This must be exciting for you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's always really nerve-wracking. Even 5 books down the line, the first one was published in 2019, so it still feels, and it's been a mad couple of years for everybody, hasn't it? So it still feels really exciting, really nerve-wracking, because you never know how something's going to be received. You just have to kind of write the best that you can, and fingers crossed, and hope for the best, really. Take the plunge.
Absolutely. We've got some hellos, so I will at some point. It just comes up as Facebook user at the moment, so I will see if I can get them up on my phone so we can actually say hello to people. You've got a question already. I don't know that you can answer this though. Sounds interesting. Are the narrators unreliable?
I would say at least one of them is. There you go, there's 3, so at least one of them is.
That is a good answer. I was wondering how on earth you would answer that.
No, that was a tricky one.
So let's go right back to the beginning. You started out with The Stalker, and you've done a lot of books in the short space of time.
Yeah, well, when I was signed by Boldwood Books, I wrote my first book in 2016. I've always loved writing. I really wanted to write a book. I've never managed to write anything more than 20,000-30,000 words, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to give it a go. I've got a story. I really want to get it down on paper. So I started to write Stalker, and then I did the usual, like all the other authors, tried to get an agent, send it out to publishers, got lots of rejections, as everybody does, or most of us do, I guess. And then I heard that Boldwood Books were forming, and they are a new publisher. It's like an amalgamation of very talented publishing people from different publishers that have come together to create their own brand, their own publishing company. And so when I spoke to them, I had Stalker written. This one is Stalker. So I had Stalker written, and I had half of Payback written by then, because I was kind of sending out Stalker. I was getting rejections, and I was fully expecting that, taking on board the comments. But I just love writing, so I just carried on. I had another idea for a story, just wanted to carry on, so I did. So when they signed me, they said, okay, great, can we sign you for 4 books? And I thought, well, I've got 1.5 kind of in the bag. I can run with that.
It's not a bad start, is it?
Exactly. I was like, oh my God, please, I'll sign on the dotted line. So just quickly, I finished Payback, and then I started on my 3rd book, which is Reckless, which is this one. And then before The Babysitter, Bad Girls came out in January of this year. So it has been an absolute whirlwind, and I don't think I've stopped. I think my little fingers on the keys just haven't stopped all this time. So yeah, that's kind of the story of publication, I guess.
And has book 6 gone? Has it been handed in, or
No, I'm about halfway through book 6, and I took a couple of weeks off, and I need to get back to it, but it's not due in until the end of the year, and I think it will be published around summer next year. Yeah, so I'm still writing that one, still plotting, because I kind of plot as I go. So yeah, it's another interesting story with a female protagonist, which kind of all of mine are. They're normally about someone sort of seeking justice or trying to right the wrongs. And also what really fascinates me is how easy it is to make one random bad decision and your whole life just completely snowballs. And you've made just a snap judgment call, bad decision, and your world's turned upside down. And that's what fascinates me, because that can happen to anybody. These are kind of, my books are about something that could genuinely happen to anybody, and that's what I'm really fascinated about.
And that's what I love as well, because you really draw us in with, it doesn't feel unrealistic. It's like you said, it's a real scenario, it's a real possibility.
Yeah.
So you don't feel like you're being drawn down something thinking, well, this would never happen.
Yeah.
Because it's completely the opposite. Yeah. And even with each little decision that people are making, you're still kind of thinking, yeah, you're an idiot, but I can see why you do that.
I get lots of comments like that where people have said, I'm screaming at the page, and this main character is making really stupid decisions. But yeah, that is what's kind of kicking off the story. And then it's how someone tries to get control of their life again after it's kind of spiraled out of control. I mean, they're all very different, but that's kind of the main themes. All female protagonists, and definitely kind of like a snap decision, judgment call. That's kind of gone horribly wrong.
It was never meant to turn out like that.
Yes.
I've got it on my phone now. So Mills Pixie says hey.
Hi.
And Leslie Lloyd says hello to us. And it was Leslie that asked about the unreliable narrators.
Yeah, just one. You'll have to learn which one it is.
I don't know if Leslie's read any of your books, but she loves fast-paced and gritty. So
yeah, mine. Well, you never like to blow your own trumpet, do you? But I mean, people say, yeah, they are fast-paced. I like short, snappy chapters. I want someone to kind of be like, oh, I'll just read one more, and then I'll just read one more, and that's because that's what I love to read. I mean, I'm a massive reader, and that's what does it for me. Short, sharp, kind of, draws you in, and you can't tear your eyes away. So I guess that's why I write like that. I think you should always write how you want to. Well, you write for you, really, and you write what you want to read. So that's there's kind of no big secret to it. I think you just kind of write for you, and if someone else likes it, then that's a bonus.
Hi, Dan McBreakneck says, hi, Sam, hi, Gemma.
Hi.
Which of your books should I start with? Now, they are standalones.
Yes. Yeah, that's quite a tricky question, because they're all really different. I mean, Payback is probably my only book that's more of a whodunit. So it's about a secret that comes back to bite somebody 20 years later. So the first part of it is set in the 90s, which was great fun writing about, because obviously I was like a teenager in the 90s, and there was all of the Oasis music, and the Heather Shimmer Rimmel lipsticks, and More magazine, and all the stuff that I used to kind of be mad on when I was younger.
Yep, I was the same.
Yeah,
I remember going by an Oasis on tape.
Oh my gosh. And then the story moves to kind of 20 years later, and something happens when they're all children, and someone kind of starts tormenting this group 20 years later. So that's kind of quite individual on that front, because it's more of a whodunit to try and keep you guessing. Stalker is a definite kind of revenge thriller. It's about a main character, Eve, who was the victim of a sexual assault, and she feels failed by the police. The police haven't got any clues. They can't catch this guy, and she decides that she's going to take it on and try and find him for herself. She doesn't quite know what she's going to do in the beginning, whether she's kind of going to deliver her own justice or whether she's going to try and hand him over to the police. But so that story kind of unfolds. Reckless is about an inappropriate relationship between a student and a teacher. So that is about, I was really fascinated because you read lots of stories in the press and stuff about male teachers having affairs with female students. And I wanted to switch that on its head, turn it on its head, and have the female teacher have an affair with a sixth form male student. So again, that's another one of those bad decisions that's kind of, and then trying to get their life back on track. So they're all quite different and they're all standalone. So it's very much kind of, whatever description takes your fancy, really. But yeah, if you'd like to read them, that'd be fantastic.
That was a great answer. Mark Fern has asked, this was one of my questions. Do you ever think you'll do a series or will you stick to standalones? I was wondering that because when you write in a standalone, it's very much self-contained, isn't it? Do you fancy kind of growing a group of characters?
I don't know. I love putting a story to bed, and then you've got a completely clean slate, and it can go anywhere. You've got a blank piece of paper. If you want to set it, on a desert island, you can. If you want to set it, in an industrial laundry, as one of mine is kind of set in, you can. So I really enjoy that. I think I'd have to really fall in love with a character, and I guess the readers would have to really fall in love with one of my characters for me to. I mean, a couple of people have said, they wondered what happened to Eve in Stalker. The same with Jess in Bad Girls. So a couple of people have kind of said, I'd like to know what happens next. But no, I'm quite happy writing standalones at the moment. But we'll see. You never know. It's a great question, Mark.
Kaz actually likes to ask about standalone novellas.
Okay.
So would you carry on, like you were saying, with different characters with Jess? Would you write just a book, even a short one, just to show people what happened to you?
Yeah, I think I definitely would like to do that, because you do get really attached to your characters, and especially when you want them to kind of have, especially if they've had like a happy ending, if they're a victim of something and you want them to, have a happy ending, and I think the reader cares about them as well, and they want to find out what's going to happen to them in the future. When you close the book and you're still thinking about a character and wondering how they're doing, I know it's fictional, but things can play on your mind. So I would definitely do that. I find it hard I'm not very good at writing short stories. I find it really difficult to kind of get like a complete story arc. So it's such a small kind of amount of words. So I take my hat off to people that do that. So I think it would be a challenge, but I could see myself doing that, definitely.
So let's jump back forward to book 6 that you're working on.
Yeah.
Can you tell us the last scene that you wrote? Now, I know you said you've had a couple of weeks off, you've just said, but without it giving any spoilers, without it giving anything away.
Oh God, that's really tricky. Okay, so my female protagonist is having a kind of very discreet argument in her home with a man who she's kind of playing a cat and mouse game with. Again, it's a kind of she makes a real bad decision, something that's reasonably quite innocent, but she's done it to the wrong person, and this guy will not let it lie. So it becomes a kind of tit for tat, but every tit for tat escalates into more and more seriousness. And I don't want to give too much away, but she's kind of having a discreet argument because there's other people around, and it's quite sinister, I'd like to say. He's very sinister and quite threatening, but it's all very nice and kind of smiley because it's in front of other people. And it was a great scene to write, actually, because I could imagine how my main character is seething inside and how this other guy is just all really wicked, and So yeah, that's how it's left, which is good, because it's great that you leave it on a good bit, because then you're keen to come back and carry it on. But as always, I'm still kind of working out where it's going next. I'm not a plotter.
You did say that you kind of plot as you go.
Yeah, because I find like the stories take me where they want to take me, and I don't like to plan too much. I generally know, beginning, middle, end, and then I'll have ideas along the way that I might not have thought of at the beginning, and it will make sense for my characters. Now I know them better as I've written them. So I definitely don't like to plan too much, because you never know. I don't like a rigid kind of, I generally have a concept and then I just off I go.
Do you always stick to the endings that you set out with?
No.
Do you ever?
No. Yeah, I do. I wanted a particular ending to, which book was it? Bad Girls initially had a bit more of a was it Bad Girls? No, it was the Babysitter, actually. It was the Babysitter, had a little bit more of a kind of sinister ending, which I loved. Okay. And my editor was like, "Oh no, I think we need to we might need to rein that in a bit." I think I've just gone off onto the dark side. So yes, she reined me in a little bit, and we kind of worked on it together, and until we were both happy. But, yeah, so not always.
I think I'm going to have to ask you about that once we're off camera.
Yeah.
Because obviously you spoil it for me now because I've read it. So
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what you were planning on doing. I can kind of imagine what you might have done, but
yeah.
But I can't ask you about it because people need to actually read it. Somebody has said, it's Leslie, she gets a bit irritated when a character keeps making bad decisions. She does like fast-paced though, so she's intrigued. Yeah. They're not stupid bad decisions though. They are spur of the moment.
Yeah, I think
you really could do it and kick yourself.
Yeah, exactly, and you've hit the nail on the head there. It really is that snap decision. High emotion. A complete kind of. Your brain goes out the window, but these tiny little 2-second moments have had a massive effect. Like with Reckless, when she takes that step over into this what was kind of friendly, and then kind of got a little bit near the mark of flirting between her and this 17-year-old sixth form. I can't even say it. Sixth former.
No, I can't.
When and then you can see it's heading in that way, and you're kind of going, "No, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And because of what she's got going on at home, and she just makes this bad decision, and that's the thing. It can happen to anyone, but of course, once you've done it, that's it. You can't take it back, and then you have to deal with the repercussions. And I think that absolutely fascinates me. I'm making all my mistakes in my book, so I'm trying.
That is a better way of doing it. Yeah, definitely. We've got some more hellos. Patsy's saying hi.
Hi.
And Elkazi's tagging people who were possibly struggling to find it.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully more people are finding us now, which is good. I think that was a while ago though. Somebody's asked. Mark's asked, which book are you reading at the moment, and do you generally stick to the genre or your genre, or do you choose different ones?
Oh, I'm a bit all over the place actually. I'm listening to a really interesting book about 9/11. It's called The Oral History of 9/11, and it's told from so many different. There's literally sort of like 30-second snippets from the first responders, from people in the buildings, from relatives of people in the buildings, people on the planes. It's a real kind of heart-wrenching listen, but it's completely fascinating. So I've got that on the go on Audible. And then on my Kindle, I've got The Hollows by Mark Edwards, which is brilliant. It's really spooky, and I love a bit of spooky. But no, I read pretty much anything. I'm not massively into sagas, But I think that's only because I haven't tried them yet. Actually, I need to kind of get out of my comfort zone and try something that I've not normally tried. But no, I like, sometimes I find if you stick to something that's too dark, which is a lot of my reading, I like thrillers and obviously dark, the grittier the better. Then you just need a break. It's too much dark, and then I'll read like some women's fiction or uplit or something, just to kind of like a palate cleanser, and that's go back to the dark stuff again.
It's funny because pretty much now all I read is crime.
Yeah.
So there's no palate cleanser. I think it's why, it kind of takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Speaking of dark and gritty, hello, Mike Craven, who has said hello.
Wow, hello. I have your second book on my Kindle. I'm really late to the party on this one, I know.
He doesn't mind when you catch up as long as you do.
Oh, I can't wait to read it. It's in the queue.
Speaking of dark and gritty, definitely enjoy.
Yeah. And do you know what? It reminded me, the Puppet Show's the first one, isn't it? I believe. Yeah. So that's the one I've read. And it reminded me actually of my favourite book, which is the book that made me want to write was Birdman by Mohada.
Oh, right, okay.
And I don't know whether you ever read it, Sam. It's so good.
On my list, but my list grows faster than I can get through.
Yeah. It's so dark. It is about a serial killer who is offing these victims, and he's sewing live birds into the chest of their bodies. And there's this detective, D.I. Jack Caffrey, who's there's a brilliant subplot along with his brother as well, but he's trying to hunt down this serial killer. It's just brilliant, and that kind of reminded me a little bit. It's almost quite a similar writing style, so yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And Mike's head just got bigger.
Yeah. Oh, we all love him here, don't we, on UK crime?
He just loves it when he gets a mention, bless him. Your ideas for each lead character, is that what comes first, or is it the story and then the character finds the story? How do you go about it?
So normally an idea, so Payback, for example, Payback is about, I was sitting in the bar, as you do, and I was thinking about, for some bizarre reason, chickenpox parties. So you know, like, I don't know if you've heard these like mental parents that would take their children to parties where they know someone's got chickenpox, so their kids all get it, so then they get immunity. And anyway, so I was thinking about that, and then I started thinking about a virginity party. So I was thinking about students in their last year of high school, just wanting to get the deed over and done with. You didn't want it hanging over their heads before they moved on to college. And it was about a group of friends, boys and girls, and they all just kind of decided to pair off and like do the deed like in the summer holidays. And anyway, so it was completely the story that came, or the plot that came first, before I developed the main character, Sophie, in Payback. And Stalker, definitely, plot came first. And then I kind of developed Eve. So yeah, I would definitely say the plot comes first, and then I work on my main character, who's obviously got to be, I've got to write her around the plot. She's obviously got to make these bad decisions. So I've kind of got to mold her into the kind of person that would make these bonkers decisions that make her life spiral out of control.
Do you kind of make a list of different decisions that they could make and then choose one? Or do you always have a firm idea in your head of that's what they're going to do and it's going to seem so innocent and then it's just going to blow up?
Yeah, because generally that's kind of what the plot will hang on. Someone making that bad decision, the rest of the plot will hang on that. I mean, you know, it's like in a horror movie, isn't it? Where, you know, they're like in Scream, where Neve Campbell says, you know, not Neve Campbell, but one of the guys says, you know, they're always running up the stairs when they should be running out of the door. Of course, if they run out the door, then there wouldn't be a film, would there? So it's kind of always what the plot hangs on.
I don't know what my instinct would be, out the door or up the stairs.
Well, this is it.
Let's hope I never find out.
Yeah, because I mean, Stalker is based. Well, it's very loosely based on an indecent assault that I had in 2001, loosely. But it kind of was really cathartic to write, and a lot of people were quite fascinated with the main character Eve, and a lot of people that had been victims of that kind of crime could really empathise with the character and said that she was written well. But I mean, she was, because she was me in that sense. So everything that Eve felt and thought, I was thinking and feeling. So she's probably the closest character I have to me, in the sense of she felt like an extension of me, definitely, when I was writing her. Yeah.
And it's a brave thing to do. I didn't know whether you were going to discuss it or not, to be honest, but it's a brave thing to discuss and to put into a book, which can only help other women.
The certain parts of the scene, which people, it is graphic, and it wasn't, it was much worse in the book than it ever was for me, thankfully. But I think all of the stigma attached to it, all of the emotions, the guilt that you feel, the anger that you feel, and sorry, that's why I was talking about that, is how you said, you don't know what you do. And so many people have said to me, well, not so many people, a few people have kind of said, when I've mentioned it, I'd kick them in the, what's it or whatever. And I think, well, you really don't know what you do when you've got a knife to your throat. It's funny how compliant you become when you actually think that your life is at risk. So that kind of thing really frustrates me, because I think, well, you don't know what you do. It's the same with me listening to the book about the Twin Towers, and there's lots of people that are kind of thinking, or kind of said, I would have thought I'd done this, but actually I did that. So you just don't know. It's kind of fight or flight mode, isn't it? I guess it's very individual to you which way you're going to go when you're faced with that kind of situation.
And I'd imagine it could even be based on the mood you're in that day or that week.
Yeah.
Or literally whatever had just happened before. You could have had a really good meeting and got a promotion and reacted in a different way because of that. You couldn't possibly predict how you'd react.
Yeah, you could have been all hyped up of having just had a row with someone, your boyfriend or whatever, and then be really angry, and and then you might well have sort of fought back, or you just really don't know what you do.
But I am glad to hear that the book was.
Yeah, I mean, it was
played out. Yeah.
It's like 20 years ago this month, actually. Gosh, 20 years ago this month. So I was, a lot younger. And I think my attitude at the time, and still is, was, thank God it was me at 21 and it wasn't a 13-year-old girl or an 80-year-old woman. At least it was someone that was reasonably resilient and could kind of bounce back. But yeah, I mean, they never caught the guy. So who knows where he is? Hopefully somewhere. But I'm sure whatever it was, he would have escalated on to worse things, I would say. But yeah, no, the writing about it was quite definitely quite cathartic, because it's not something that people talk about either.
No.
I mean, it doesn't really come up in polite conversation. So yeah, getting it out there is cathartic as well, I think.
Which is, I'm really glad to hear that there was some kind of, I don't know if closure is the word, but some sort of, you're able to do something with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Mary Grand has asked, are there any other genres you would like to write in?
I would love to write horror. I am horror mad.
I'm just knocking everything off my desk. Sorry, we can be banging.
Where's that glass of water gone?
That's why I have refillable bottles. I do recycle. I'm not a nightmare for for the eco thing, but and there's too much paper for me to have an open container near my desk.
Right. Yeah, I'd love.
Other genres we're asking.
I would love to write a horror. I do love a horror movie. I love horror books. It's all I used to read when I was a teenager. So yeah, I would love to give that a go. Something in the vein of kind of C.J. Tudor, who I love. So yeah, I'd like to give it a go. Perhaps when if I'm out of contract, or because at the moment it's just, you write one and then you send it off and then you just start on the next one. So I'm contracted to write 8 books now. I did my 4 books and then they've contracted me to write another 4. So halfway through number 6. So maybe after 7 and 8, I might take a break and see if I can write something really horrid.
Has there been any time change between writing your first book and writing book 5?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've got quicker, and you do learn so much. I mean, I went straight out of school and I got a job straight away. So I literally have my English GCSEs. That's all I have. I've always wanted to do maybe A levels or a degree. I never have, because I've just continuously worked since I was 16. So it definitely is a massive learning curve, and I'm learning so much from the amazing editors we've got. My editor Caroline, and the proofreaders and the line edits, everything that comes back. And I remember getting a rejection on a post-it note.
Post-it note.
No, it was it was like a standard rejection letter, and on the post-it note, he'd written like pros and cons, and he'd put like pros, really good story, good characters, and then in the cons he'd put what was it, less telling, more showing. So it's that show don't tell. And I'd never even heard that before. Because I'd never studied creative writing. I just literally dove in, thought, I enjoy doing this. I'm going to give it a go. So it's been a real learning curve, and I'm hoping that they are sort of getting better as they go. But I mean, who knows? But it's a team effort. That's the thing. So what you said, what you're reading has come back to me kind of 3 times with edits and then copy edits. And there's a whole team of people trying to make the book the best it can possibly be. So it's definitely not just me. And even, I mean, certain things can change. Like I said, the ending can change a little bit, where someone has suggested something different or made a really good suggestion of something that I could add in to make the plot, I don't know, more believable. Or so yeah, it's definitely a team effort.
And you're the author, aren't you, who's going to tell me that it does get easier with each submission?
I think
somebody's got to give us some hope at some point that it does get less nerve-wracking.
No, I don't think it does. I mean, you can have a feeling that you like, I really like this one. Like every book I write, I go, I really like this one because I really like it, and I'm invested in the story, and because how it works for me is I get my ideas, or I get an idea, and it will start bubbling away. And if I can't stop thinking about it, I think I'm onto something here, and it just kind of grows. And that's when I think, right, I've got to get this down on paper. So I don't know if it does get easier, but I kind of think, well, I really enjoy it, see what you think. And that's all you can do. It's like your book baby, and you're delivering it out into the world going, well, I think it's okay. I've really enjoyed writing it. Hope you enjoy reading it. And that's all you can do.
When you look back over them, do you ever pick it up and go, whoa, do you know what? Yeah, that's so good.
There's a few
after the nervy stage.
Yeah, definitely. Normally when you're doing your like last proofread and you've read it about 5 times, and then you end up hating it because you've read it so many times, you're like, oh, this is the worst book in the world, and no one's going to like this, because you're just bored. Who reads the same book 5 times over straight away?
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Straight away.
Yeah. So, but there's a couple of times where you read like a certain passage or something like that, and even Imogen Church, the fantastic narrator of Bad Girls and The Babysitter, she pinged me when she was reading or prepping for the narration of The Babysitter, and she was like, I won't say it because it's a sweary line, and there's a little bit of swearing in my books.
We are in a book club that's for adults, so it's up to you whether you do or not.
No, I'm definitely not going to, because it's the worst swear word you can think of. But anyway, so she...
don't know, I'm Northern.
Oh, that's true. She pinged me and she said, I cannot wait to spit out this line. And I thought, oh, right, okay. So I was like, I can't wait to hear you spit out that line. So, yeah, I'm very, very lucky to have her, because I've been a massive fan of hers for years. In fact, I've bought audiobooks just because she's narrated them, because she's got just a brilliant voice, cracking at what she does. So, yeah.
Do you ever now consider writing lines just because you know she's going to have to say it?
I might do in future. I'm going to say, I wrote a corker for you this time. Try and get that line out without laughing. Or yeah, I might well do that. This could become a game between me and Imogen now, I think.
I like that. Aggie's asked, were your working titles kept or changed completely by editors? And if changed, did you like them? That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would tell you that out of 5 books, the only title that was kept was Reckless. So
Right.
Reckless was my working title all the way through. I'm going to tell you what the other titles were. Why not? So Stalker was Hunter when I initially wrote it. Payback, which I am glad that they changed it, because initially it was called The Virginity Party, which kind of...
it kind of sounds like a teenage kind of...
Yeah.
Sounds completely different to what you've got.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I do get, and I've liked all of them. Bad Girls I liked. I mean, it's a throwback to it was 90s, wasn't it? Bad Girls on ITV. Yeah, it was 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't mind that one. That was fine. And what was The Babysitter? The Babysitter, I think I'd written. I think I'd called it Deceived. I don't massively, because I know that 9 times out of 10 they're going to be changed. I don't get really hung up on a title. I kind of give it a general, idea, something that's relatable to the plot, but I don't get massively hung up, because what's the point? You know that they're going to probably be changed by the publisher. I've liked them all.
Yeah, I remember going on a course years ago with Jane Wenham Jones, and she actually said she didn't write. She just used to call things The Wedding and the whatever. She said because they always changed it. They always changed the title, so she just never got hung up on it.
Yeah, and it's all to do with particular books that do well, particular themes. There's lots of, like, the wife or the mother or the sister. Lots of those kind of, and when things do well, they like to tie them together with, tie kind of groups of books together. And I think it's to do with the algorithms and stuff like that as well, stuff I do not understand on
Well, the thing with the algorithms is they change things so often. You've got to be so on top of everything, and even when you think you are, they throw you again.
I'm definitely not on top of anything like that. I'm so pleased that I don't have to. I mean, I'll take my hat off to people that self-publish, because I mean, you're doing all of your marketing and everything like that, all your covers, all your everything you've got to source yourself or outsource, but you're managing this project, whereas for us, you're sending off your manuscript and you're just waiting for them to red pen it, really. And then it to come back, and obviously you get sort of cover choices, and do you like this particular cover, or this is the color that we're going to go with, or does this model look like, does she ring true to your main character, things like that. So it is like a group effort, which is nice to be involved, but yeah, I wouldn't like to do it all myself. I wouldn't know where to start.
So when your first cover came for Stalker, and obviously you're writing more, did you know there was going to be a theme to the covers? Because they're very striking covers. They really stand out.
No, I had no idea. I think at the time I was just like, oh my God, I've written a book. And I've written a book that someone's going to publish. And I think I was just so blown away for months on end. I just kept pinching myself, really. I felt really lucky. So it didn't really, I mean, now it's lovely seeing them all together, and then you see the covers, and then my name's quite big on them in different colours, and they kind of all have slightly different sort of themes. And yeah, I'm really pleased with how they look. They've done a cracking job. And I mean, a couple of them are in like the works, in my local works in Crawley. And it's even now it's mental to go in and my kids like, look mum, there's your book, and it's like just really weird. But
are you ever tempted to offer to sign them for them?
I have been in and signed. Yeah, I was really embarrassed and I went really red, and I was like, oh hello, I'm Gemma and it's my book and can I sign one? And they were really nice in there, and they let me sign it. And then one of the ladies behind the till said, oh, I'm going to buy that now.
Love it. We've got another question from Mary Grand. Now you have such a following and lots of people waiting for your next book, how do you handle that pressure, and does it influence how you write?
God, it would be lovely to have a massive following. I'm not sure whether I do, but thank you, Mary. No, I don't think it does, because the only pressure I feel is, you've got your deadline, you've got a date to work to. I always try and make sure I hit my deadlines, but like we were talking about before, life kind of can sometimes get in the way, and you have to put things on hold. So I feel kind of self-imposed pressure from that. I never feel like that from the publishers.
Yeah.
And I'm always worried. You're always worried, no matter what you write, whether it's going to be any good. You never really know. You can't know for sure. And whenever you send it off, and I'm waiting for my publisher to send me that kind of 1 or 2 line email back. She's really good. She does it as quickly as she can, because she knows I'm kind of sitting there biting my nails and
refreshing.
Does she like it? Does she like it? Does she like it? And then she'll say, oh, it's fantastic. It's really good. And she'll give me a bit of a boost, and I go, thank goodness for that. The relief is overwhelming. But yeah, you don't really know until you send it out in the world. And NetGalley, for me, when it goes up on NetGalley and then the reviews start coming in, I get quite nervous waiting for that. That is the constant refreshing. I need to get a life, but I do. And waiting for those kind of, what star rating you're going to get and whether they liked it. And yeah, so it can be a little bit pressure, but I think it's mainly self-imposed. I'm not very nice to myself sometimes, I think.
One of the other hellos that we had that I missed was Claudine Gill. So hello, Claudine.
Hello, Claudine. Hi.
I wanted to ask you, with the Babysitter, 3 days. Now that is a fast-paced book.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to set it over 3 days?
Well, I thought with the kidnapping, obviously it's a child abduction, as you know. That's not going to go on and on and on. These things don't generally go on and on and on. The truth will come out eventually, and it's a kind of a case of trying not to say too much as well, to find Eden, the child, before the truth does come out. And so it kind of felt really panicked as I was writing it, especially Brooke, who is the babysitter. She's very, very nervous and trying to figure out what's happened and why it's happened, and they're trying to keep the reader interested as well with what's going on. So it was it wasn't always supposed to be like that. It wasn't always, it was set over 3 days. And it was funny, actually, when I sent the edits, when I sent the book off and the edits came back, my editor said, I think we should do like time slots. I think that would work really well. I hadn't done that when I first sent it off. It was set over 3 days, but not in the kind of 2-3 hour time slots that it is now. So it was always set over 3 days, but I think that was how it was going to be, because these things don't go on and on and on. They're normally, thankfully, children are found pretty quickly in those sorts of situations. So I thought it might be a bit unbelievable if it was dragged out too long as well.
Be a completely different story, wouldn't it, if it was set over a longer period.
Yeah, and I think, it's supposed to be tense. It's supposed to be,
It's definitely tense. That is an understatement.
You're supposed to feel panicked kind of reading it, especially if you're reading from the mother's perspective. I mean, the strapline is, it's a mother's worst nightmare, and it absolutely is.
I've got to say, that opening absolutely grabbed me. Can you remember enough to describe it to people?
The opening where the kidnapping happens. Well, basically, Brooke, the babysitter, wakes up in the park. She's very disorientated. She's bleeding from the head, and she was woken up from being unconscious, and the baby that she's been looking after for her best friend has completely disappeared. So it's that absolute panic of, oh my God, it's not my child, but where is this child? Where is Eden? Who's the child's name? And I think every parent has definitely gone through that. I know I've gone through it, like when you've been in the supermarket and you've taken your eyes off your child, especially when they're young, and they just kind of, like seconds, they've just sort of wandered down the end of the aisle, and all of a sudden you can't see them anymore, and just your heart just, and it's, and that's what I was trying to convey in that opening chapter. Thank you. Because you've got to grip the reader early on. That's like rule number one, isn't it? Otherwise, they won't want to carry on reading. So, it straight into the action, definitely.
And it didn't feel forced either. The way it was written, it didn't feel like. Sometimes it can feel like people have missed a little bit and they've just gone right at it. But you're waking up with Brooke and you're thinking, right, well, what, why is she bleeding from the back of the head? And then she suddenly realizes Eden's not there. I mean, you do get that grip of terror when you're reading it, and you cannot stop reading it.
Yeah, thank you.
It's such a great opening. I think it's Leslie Lloyd says she loves audiobooks and she's going to check out the next book on NetGalley. But I'm just kind of, Facebook's not playing nice tonight, so I keep not being able to see the comments properly. So yeah, it was Leslie. I thought it might have been. So you get a queue of people for NetGalley already.
Yeah,
we do have people that post in the group as well when NetGalley goes live. So you can always give one of us admins a shout.
I should do that, shouldn't I? I mean, I like to post. I mean, I'm a massive fan of I've just posted this afternoon on I can't think who it was. Somebody posted about I think it was on UK Crime Book Club about Stranded, which was by Sarah Goodwin, and it's a debut about being stranded on a desert island. It's like part Big Brother, part kind of Lord of the Flies, and it was a debut, and I was massively blown away. It's like, wow, it was a fantastic book. So I try and
another one for my list.
Yeah, it's really, really good. There's been a few books this year, I must say, for me. The Serial Killer's Wife by Alice Hunter.
That's another one that's on my list. That's another very striking cover that I can still picture.
Yes, definitely. True Crime Story by Joseph Knox. Have you read that?
No, and I really need to.
You need to.
It's another one that I've just heard great things about.
Yeah.
And he came on and did an interview just before it came out with AA Dand, and I think they're good mates. So it was quite a lot of banter in this interview.
Yeah.
So it looked really good.
Yeah, it really was good. It kind of, because you weren't sure how much of it was true and how much of it was fiction, and it had that whole, I mean, obviously it's not horror, but it had that whole kind of Blair Witch thing where all the way through you're thinking, is this actually real? Is it real, or is it? It was really good, really, really good. And it's the first one I've read actually of his. I know he's written some other books as well, so I must pick that up.
Somebody said they struggled with true crime story. I'm going to see if I can see who the comment was from. I'm having to refresh the thing every time and then it keeps disappearing. So I don't know who said that. Oh, Leslie.
I love that it's so subjective though, because you know, we all won't, everyone's got their favourite books, and you know, we don't all like the same things, and that's fantastic, because you know, the world would be a boring place if we did. So it's always good to kind of have that. I was chatting with Mark Fern, who's commented before tonight, about that a couple of days ago, that you know, we're not all going to like the same things, and that's fine. And I think you have to have that kind of, as an author, you have to have that thick skin anyway, because not everyone, you know, you're going to get your 1-star reviews and people think it's the worst thing that they've ever read, and you just go, okay, well, you know, each to their own, and it's what it is, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. That's absolutely right. It is what it is. You can't please everybody.
No.
There's no possible way.
That's why that's why I think you kind of write for yourself, because you know, as far as you're concerned, you've written a book that you've enjoyed writing and that you would enjoy reading, and you know, that's all you can do. It's a bonus if any other people enjoy it too. The fact that people are reading my books, I still can't get my head around at all.
Well, that leads to another question. Memorable moments for you as an author?
Oh, definitely getting that email. The first email I got from the publishers saying they wanted to have a call with me. They wanted to. They were interested in signing me, and it was school run. I was getting dressed. I run down the stairs half naked, saying to my husband, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I've got this email." So that's definitely a biggie. The first time you hold your book in your hand, like you open the box and you get it out, and you're just like, that's me. So that's definitely another one. I've seen it in the works as well. I mean, I haven't seen like, I haven't hit Waterstones or anything like that. I'm not successful enough for that, but you know, seeing them on a shelf is just mind blowing. Also, I managed to sell. Apparently, I've sold 100,000 copies.
Congratulations!
I can't get my head around that. I think that's across all of the books. But even so, my husband still says to me, "I only thought you'd sell a couple of hundred."
Nothing like your family to keep you grounded, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's not a reader, bless him. I mean, I guess you either are or you aren't, and he's not. Reading's not really his thing, but yeah, I think he kind of came along on this ride with me and just sort of thought, you know, well, you know, we'll see how it goes. You know, I don't think he ever thought I was going to be the next big thing. Obviously, he thought I was going to sell a couple of hundred copies.
When it comes to people sending you images of your book, best place you've seen it, can you beat a stormtrooper?
Oh my god, no, definitely not. I'm jealous. Who had a stormtrooper?
I can't remember. I need to have a look back.
No, I think my cousin sent me a picture from I can't remember what the name of the store was, but it was in Canada and British Columbia, and she was like, "Oh look, there's my cousin's books," and I was like, "Oh my god." But no,
that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. It is pretty cool, isn't it? But no, that's the kind of. I'd love more of them. Please send them in if anyone has them. I love it when people get in touch. Honestly, every reader needs to know that any author would love you to get in touch and just say, you know, if you enjoyed the books or what you enjoyed about it. This is what keeps us going. It's our bread and butter. It really does spur us on to write. So yeah, definitely one for the readers. Thank you ever so much for all the people have been so kind and really supportive. So yeah, massive thank you to all of my readers.
I do love the crime community for the support that they offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for subjects that you've covered, is there anything, you've covered lots of different things already, is there anything you wouldn't touch?
I'd never kill a dog. people hate that, don't they?
Yeah.
People, like, you can do what you like to you can murder another person, cut them into little bits, touch a dog, that's it. It's game over. So yeah, no, I don't think I'd ever be brave enough for that. I find that really difficult to write anyway, to be quite honest, but I think loads of people would abandon me if I did that. I don't know. I mean, I know I've covered like a sexual assault. I don't know whether I'd do anything to do with children. It's a hard, very hard read, let alone hard write. I'd hate to do any research on that whatsoever.
Yeah, that'd be a difficult subject to live in
Yeah,
your head.
because you want to be true, but who wants to read?
No.
It's bad enough that it goes on without. Yeah.
Yeah,
So probably just the usual things really. I'd never kill a dog, so don't worry. I'm never going to kill a dog in any of my books. One won't be harmed at all.
Aggie's asked, from all the books you've read or written, what is the one you would recommend? So which one, do you have a favourite of your own, and then do you have a favourite of somebody else's?
That's so tough.
It is a really tricky question.
It is.
Do you have a favourite from this year that you've read?
I would probably say.
The problem with this is you're going to think and you're going to say something, and then in about an hour you'll go, oh, but there was that one.
Yeah. I really love that Stranded that I've just recently read. I really loved it. I listened to it actually, and the audio book was fantastic. Serial Killer's Wife, probably. Definitely up there for me. That was really fast paced, really entertaining. That's for read. As for my books, that's so difficult because it's like choosing your favourite child, which of course none of us ever have ever.
All of my kids are convinced that they're the favourite.
Oh, exactly.
Which is how it should be. They're all convinced they are because they all are.
Yes, exactly. I don't know. I'd probably say Stalker means a lot to me. I think that's because of the personal connection I have with it.
Yeah.
So, and it was the first. So Stalker, I think, means a lot to me. But I love the fact that they're all so different, and I've really enjoyed writing all of them. So it would be very hard to choose in terms of kind of plot or something like that. But Stalker probably means the most to me, I'd say.
And on that note, we have got just over a minute left.
Wow,
so
that's gone
a recap of books and covers.
So fast. Okay, so we have.
It absolutely flew. I didn't realise it had gone that quickly.
So book number 1 is Stalker. This is about the indecent assault where our main character Eve tries to seek out her attacker. We have, I'm going to try and do them in order of publication anyway. Then we have Payback. So this was about the group of children that decide to go ahead and lose their virginity over a summer, and then in the 90s, and then 20 years later, this bites them on the bum. Reckless is an inappropriate relationship with a student, an English teacher, funnily enough, has an inappropriate relationship with a student, sixth form student, who turns out to be a bit of a nutter. And Bad Girls is about Jess, who's recently come out of prison for death by dangerous causing death by dangerous driving. And she works in an industrial laundry with a dodgy probation officer who's in cahoots with the owner of the laundry in a kind of sexual exploitation of the girls that work there. And let me show you the cover of The Babysitter last, which I haven't shown you yet, have I?
Did we not do it at the beginning? Sure. Did we not?
So this is the latest book. This is The Babysitter that Sam's just read. Was out on Tuesday this week. Available on audio, paperback, and Kindle from Amazon and all good other stores, really. So yeah,
you search it and loads of things come up, so it's easy to find.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to all the admins and members who've taken part.
Thank you.
Thank you to you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to everyone that came along too. And yeah, have a lovely evening.
You too, and we'll see you for book 6.
Yes. Thanks for having me.